All right, what's going on, everyone? We got a Dr. Stone tier list. To start, I actually need to make the tier list. I was getting ready for the stream, and then I realized, hey, you know what I didn't make yet? A tier list for my tier list stream. So, give me like 5 minutes to make the tier list, and then we'll get started. It should only take me 2 seconds. In the meantime, how's everyone doing today while I make this tier list? We got Justin in the chat. Justin, how you doing today? Da Tenseki. Yeah, Mission Yozakura family is ending. It's gone for good. Well, we still have the anime, but still. We got Josh in chat. Josh, how you doing? Looking forward to the next part of the anime. Yeah, that'll be fun for sure. The Switch 2 got revealed. Yeah, everyone seems excited about that. I've never had a Switch, if I'm being honest. Give me like a few more minutes for the tier list. All right, I think I got everyone. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. I should have everybody. And if I missed somebody, let me know. So let me switch over to the tier list. Oh, hold on. We need... Oh, no. All right, hold on. Hold, please. I need a better picture. This works. Okay. Hold, please. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, there we go. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, we're good. It worked this time. I learned how to internet. Let's see how chat's doing. We should be grateful and celebrate Yozakura, then be sad. Yeah, I would say it's like a gift of a manga. Like, it definitely went underappreciated, but it's great that it's there for sure. Excuse me. Chihiro couldn't even beat Tsukasa without a magic sword. Yeah, I don't know. Although, I don't know how well the magic powers scale in Dr. Stone world. I guess your favorite female cast is from Bleach? Probably. I do really like the female characters in Dr. Stone, but I would probably say Bleach right now. Fairy Tail? No. As much as I love female characters in Fairy Tail, I don't think they're the best. I do really like Erza. I don't know, that's a toughie. I would have to think on that. Also, I don't know if anyone wants my opinion on the best female characters, even though I have an opinion. Rate my rankings. So, Zeno, then Tsukasa, then Hyoga, then Senku's bullies as a kid, then Wyman, then Habara, then Magma. So Senku's bullies as a kid get placed higher than Wyman and Habara? Can you explain that one? Other than that, I think that's a good tier list. Anyway, let's get this started. So I included named like side characters that are technically bad guys, and this should really be like a bad guy tier list, not a villain tier list, but I think people can figure out what I mean. Anyway, let's get started. Well, let's start. I'll save Wyman. So let's do Mantle. I think Mantle will be our D tier. As funny as he is, I don't think anyone really feels particularly strong about mantle. The reason Abara is low is because to me he was just annoying, never threatening. As for Y-Man, it isn't even really evil, though it was doing us a service. Also, I am going to avoid spoilers on Y-Man's true identity for anyone that's caught up on the manga. I would like to make this anime friendly, so for anyone in the chat, try not to say too much about Y-Man. Where would I put Magma? I would say Magma is like middle B tier. Where's Senku's barber? I don't think Senku had a barber. I think Senku just cut his own hair. I'm pretty sure they said Senku doesn't put any product in his hair. So now let's do Hyoga. Or let's do, well, okay, I'm going to go slightly out of order. Homura, I would put like C tier. She's definitely not trash, but she's not a great bad guy. He gave Senku the leak haircut? Yeah. If I had a picture, maybe. I think this should be interesting since the idea of Dr. Stone is about science and society, and the villains are in a way of their view of society, and they want to shape it. Yeah, true. Yeah, Dr. Stone doesn't have a ton of, like, villains. It really only has, like, maybe 3 tops. So now let's do... Now let's do... So we'll go in order. I'm going to put Hyoga in A tier because he's a super threatening character. He's never really like the big bad until the very end. And he also gets defeated pretty easily, even though he is fighting Tsukasa and Senku. He does get beat pretty quick for as strong as he is. Also, I'm not crazy about his whole shtick about, like, you know, purifying the planet. I feel like it's really just like a spin on Tsukasa's thing, even though it is fundamentally different. Without spoiling, what's your opinion on Senku's goal at the end of the story? Wouldn't him building that machine change stuff, make it so Kohaku wouldn't even be born? I can't really say, I can't properly answer your question without giving spoilers. So my answer is I like it, and no, I don't think so, because of movie logic. I'm pretty sure Dr. Stone would be going by movie logic. Tsukasa is as forgiving as Jesus for not beheading Hyoga once he gets healed. Yeah, that's a good point. I would be pissed. I think part of it, and we can start our conversation of Tsukasa, I think part of it is because Tsukasa already felt bad for what he did. So by the time they revive him, he like feels so guilty about everything that he's focused more on himself and what he can do to make up for what he did. Movie logic isn't logic though, and Dr. Stone is scientific to a point until you get to the very end, and then it's somewhat fantasy. Somewhat. Again, I can't really properly answer your question inside the stream just because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who isn't caught up and hasn't read the ending. But to validate what you're saying, you are technically right. I do think there would be some problems. Personally, I wouldn't hold it against Hyoga for stabbing me, as I myself smashed petrified people, but I'd be pissed about him pointing the spear at my sister. Exactly. No, yeah. Which he was definitely pissed when it happened, but again, I think by the time they revive him, he's like, you know what? I'm not really on the whole revenge path anymore. Plus, his sister is safe when he gets revived, so I think he's like, you know what? No harm, no foul. I saw a post on Reddit that said Erza has the most one-on-one fights of a female character who isn't the main character in Shonen. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know if that's true for a fact. I would have to see that analysis. What happened to all the hype Dr. Stone had during season 1? People didn't like how the Stone Wars went, and how it wasn't really like a war, and it lost its trendiness. So now Dr. Stone is kind of just like, you know, it's popular, but it's not that popular. So I'm going to put Tsukasa in S tier. Erza can't even take me 1v1 at Yu-Gi-Oh! No, I don't think she would be very good at Yu-Gi-Oh! So Tsukasa is S tier because although he's more of an anti-villain, he's one of the most threatening characters in the story. He's got one of the best anti-villain philosophies in anime and manga. He's a really like rounded out, fleshed out character. He's one of the more iconic characters in Dr. Stone. And he's like one of the best foils to Senku you could possibly come up with. So as a villain, generally speaking, without getting into technicalities, he's definitely S tier. Should have called it the Stoned Wars. It would have been popular on TikTok. God, I will never get sick of stoner memes with Dr. Stone. So now we're on Treasure Island. So I will put... I'll put Maya in like the top of C tier. I will put Brody in B tier. Above Magma. I'll put him below Magma. So I'm going to put Brody below Magma because even though I like him more as a character, we didn't really get to see his full potential as a character. So I feel like Magma technically does more than him. You can get into an argument of like who's the bigger MVP, but that's not really what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is if we're talking about, you know, who's the better villain, I feel like it definitely goes to Magma. Magma, excuse me. Tsukasa is filth. He isn't respectable. I can forgive going after Tsukasa. He threatened Yuzuriha and almost killed Kohaku. It was dishonorable. Well, Kohaku was trying to kill him, and he didn't really kill Kohaku. And then he did threaten Yuzuriha, but then again, you have to consider like how big of a threat Senku was. How well do you think the main cast of Dr. Stone would do in Jurassic Park? I don't know. That depends on what you mean by how well they would do. Like, would they escape? Yes. Would they, like, take it over somehow? I'm not sure. Magma ended up with a baddie, though. Who does he get? Are you talking about Nikki? What do you mean? So we did Brody. So then we have Charlotte, the Stanley lookalike. I'm going to put her in D tier because she probably does the least out of the Xeno army people. Even though, scientifically speaking, of course, she's very scientific. Scientifically speaking, I approve of Charlotte. But moving on. We did the America. I'm ashamed of myself. We did the America people. Okay, so let me backtrack. We have the Treasure Island people to do. So I'll put Kirasame bottom of C tier. She's really not even a bad guy, never mind a villain. The scene when Nikki tells him she likes guys like him and he's flustered. I don't remember that. When did she tell that to Magma? I'm confused. I don't remember that. Yeah, Kirasame is not really a bad guy, so I would put her in D tier, but she is pretty threatening in Treasure Island. The American people, bro, thinks he's Columbus. I'm just saying, they are Americans. So, you know. So yeah, Kirasame. Then we have Mozu. I would put Mozu. I would put Mozu like top of B tier because he's a very threatening character and he is kind of cool, but he's also kind of sleazy. We don't really see him do much after Treasure Island, and compared to a character like Hyoga or Tsukasa, he doesn't really have a particularly interesting motivation. So I would say that holds him into like B tier. What are my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2? I don't really play the Switch, and I haven't seen the reveal myself, so I'm not too sure. I would have to see, like, what are the technical capabilities. As soon as we meet Americans, Stanley tries to shoot everyone. Author is wild for that. I mean, let's be honest. Who has the most guns in the world? America. Who's got the biggest army? America. Who likes corn? America. Who likes burgers? America. So I think Inagaki nailed that one. And then we have Abara. Abara, top of A tier. Now, some people might not like that. Excuse me. If I'm being honest, while I really like Abara as a villain, I don't really like him that much as a character. He's a creepy old man, which, is great for a villain. But, as far as like a character, I don't really care about him or find him all that engaging beyond his role as a villain. I think he's a nice foil to Senku because while he may not be scientific, he has the prudence and the cautiousness of a scientist. Excuse me. So it makes him a formidable opponent to Senku. But beyond that, I think he's kind of a boring character. Yeah, so a lot of people would say they like Abara as a villain more than Tsukasa, but I like Tsukasa more as a character. I think he's a lot more interesting, and I think he's even a better foil to Senku. So, honestly, although Abara is technically a better villain, I would say I like Tsukasa a lot more in the context of Dr. Stone. I didn't like the whole Stanley soft retcon. He was fine shooting kids in his introduction, even Zeno's old friend Senku. But later we get the whole he's a soldier, he's got ethics. No, I wouldn't say he's retconned because it's pretty clear from the get-go that he doesn't shoot people unless he has to. Because if you think about what he does, right? He shoots at Senku's boat. But then when he realizes Senku is a science user, he backs off because he's like, okay, this guy's important. So, or rather, not Senku, but the group. Excuse me. I had a sneeze, but it wouldn't come. Or I didn't sneeze, I guess I should say. Pardon me. Anyway. So yeah, Stanley doesn't continue to attack when he realizes that there's some kind of science group. He captures Gen alive. Zeno says, shoot that kid Senku, and Stanley says, okay. Well, that's the thing, right? Is he's a soldier following orders. So he does shoot people when he's told to, right? He's following Zeno. But he doesn't just shoot everyone he sees. He only kills people for the sake of a mission. So, like, after he shoots Senku and, you know, I can never remember their names. There's the two guys that are like Luna's like lackeys, and they're like, hey, what are we going to do about Luna? And he's like, well, I'm not going to kill her, but I'm not going to go save her. So if she saves herself, great. So Stanley has always been like a sort of morally gray character. He really is. He really does have that like, I'm a soldier mentality. On that note, Stanley gets A tier. S tier, excuse me. I mean, first of all, he's got a badass name. Stanley Snyder. That's a cool ass name. Cool design, even though when you meet him in the manga, everyone's reaction is that a girl? Because he does have a very pretty face. And I think that's what Boichi went for. But, I mean, of all of the characters, I don't think any of them is more American than Stanley Snyder. Which, as an American, I'm a little biased. Yeah, he's a cool character. He's got a cool design. Very threatening. Arguably more threatening than Tsukasa. And he's just really cool. So yeah, S tier. As a matter of fact, I would even put him above Tsukasa. Biggest letdown with Zeno to me is that he wasn't portrayed as smart. He was as smart as he was hyped up to be, especially during the going to the moon arc, as Senku made all the decisions and Zeno was just there. Well, that's a multi-layered problem, which let me answer this comment. Zeno to me could have been a great villain, but the story was rushed. I wonder if the story was rushed because of the pandemic. Not really. It makes you wonder if there were planned trips for research. No. Because I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Stone was like already ending right towards the start of COVID. So I don't really think that was the problem. But we keep talking about Zeno. Oh, so somebody said Zeno wasn't as smart as he was portrayed, and he kind of just followed Senku. Well, you have to imagine, right? So, um, Zeno, confronts Senku, almost beats him in North America. Then he sort of follows Senku. So when he's captured, he's genuinely trying to help Senku because Senku's trying to discover the source of petrification, and Zeno is just as curious as Senku. So he's like, okay, well, while I'm trapped, I might as well help Senku. So that's part of it. Then there's the whole battle in South America, which Senku's team does win. So as Zeno admits defeat, and at that point, he's like, you know what, Senku, clearly you're the leader here, so I'm going to let you take charge of things. So I think that's why he lets Senku run things. But then we have Mr. Dr. Zeno Houston Wingfield. And I mean, come on. S tier. I should have a triple S tier, and that's where Dr. Zeno would go. I believe Stanley and Zeno were subtly implied to be a thing. I don't think it was subtle at all, but yes. Especially the scene when Stanley touches Zeno's face tenderly. It was weirdly handsy. Yeah, I don't think that scene was subtle at all. I think because it's Weekly Shonen Jump, they can't necessarily come right out and be like, hey, they're a gay couple. Look at them. Look at the gays being so gay. That's a great point. Zeno is triple S tier just for landing Stanley. You have to remember they were best buddies when they were kids, like Senku and Taiju. But yeah, that's a good point. You know, if you can win over Stanley, clearly you have unspoken riz. But yeah, Dr. Zeno. I mean, first of all, great name, Dr. Zeno Houston Wingfield. Great design. He's the most classically evil villain in Dr. Stone. I just love all of his dialogue and how he's so like deliciously evil. Arguably the best. I know this is like my third time saying it now. Arguably the best foil to Senku in Dr. Stone. It's between him, Obara, and Tsukasa. I think if anything, it's really between him and Tsukasa. I think once Zeno is in the equation, he kind of knocks out Obara. My issue is in that page, Zeno was startled, which doesn't make sense if there... I think he wasn't startled so much as he was like... I'm trying to find the appropriate word. He was like flushed, I guess. Like embarrassed, almost. I don't see Zeno as evil. I think very similarly to him and Tsukasa. Why revive everyone? I'd just make my own country. Well, yeah, but he also like has the whole evil genius persona. So I get what you're saying. He's a good guy deep down, but he is pretty clearly evil. Yeah, I just think he's a really cool character. His philosophy isn't that deep like Tsukasa, but he's an evil genius. He's got a great design. He's got one of the best, characteristic, he's got some of the best character traits, one of the best personalities in Dr. Stone. He's like a top 10 character easily. He's just really cool. Triple S tier. All right, so that brings us to Y-Man. And this might be controversial, but I am going to put Y-Man in A tier, top of A tier. Senku legit said, let's revive. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to rate that. Yeah, I'm going to ignore that comment. Y-Man and C. Yeah, no, I don't think Y-Man is that bad. So Y-Man would be S tier because Y-Man as Y-Man poses a huge threat, you know, motivates everyone to work together, continuously threatens everyone. Yeah, no, I'm not going to answer the comment because, you know, if we're being honest, that's, you know, it's kind of gross. So I would appreciate if you sort of chilled out with that kind of comment. I think Tsukasa and Zeno are good villains as opposites of Senku for very different reasons in a good way. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Tsukasa is like the physical foil to Senku, psychologically as well, but or philosophically as well, but mostly like physical. Zeno is more of like the psychological foil. So you're right. In very different ways, they're both perfect foils to Senku. Anyway. Oh, yeah, so Y-Man. So Y-Man would be S tier, right? I mean, starts the petrification, does the whole Y thing over the radio, imitates Senku's voice, right? Even sends down the Medusas on Treasure Island. So Y-Man is a very threatening character. That being said, technically speaking, he's not really a villain. Like, Tsukasa is a villain. He's like a person physically in the story. Zeno is a villain. Y-Man is almost like a force of nature for most of the story, even though he clearly takes action, right? But he's almost like, I guess you could say, a force majeure, right? He's not really a villain because he's not like an active participant in the story as much as like the other characters. And then obviously the other part of it is if you're caught up on the manga, obviously there's all the issues with Y-Man's motivations once you get to the end of the manga. So once you find that out, you're like, I don't know if I find that nearly as interesting as Tsukasa's plans for, you know, paradise or, you know, Dr. Zeno's whole evil genius shtick. Y-Man to me is a villain concept like the Odyssey movie, 2001. You don't fully understand, but I just felt the resolution was just too quick. I wanted a longer resolution like Naruto and Nagato. Yeah, it was weird because they do kind of do the talk no jutsu thing, but also it's much, much shorter and not nearly as satisfying. Again, I can't get into specifics on that. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about how the whole talk no jutsu thing was handled in Dr. Stone anyway. Um anyway, this is our tier list. Again, this is not like my favorite characters who happen to be bad guys tier list. Uh this is my like who's the best bad guy in Dr. Stone tier list. I have that issue with most final villains in anime. They have poor ideals compared to previous villains. Yeah, that's a good Naruto's a good example for sure. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about my tier list here. Generally I like Homura more than Maya. In fact, I'm not crazy about Maya as a character. Um Actually, you know what? I'm going to put Maya right there. Yeah. Because Maya doesn't even really do anything herself. Like, she is threatening, but I almost feel like Homura does slightly more than Maya in the story. Um, Charlotte is a cool character, sort of, but she doesn't really do anything. She's one of the more minor characters. Mantle is Mantle. Kirasame isn't really even a bad guy. Um, and even then, she like barely fights anyone besides Kohaku. Um, Dr. Brody is a really cool character, but again, he's not like that much of a bad guy. Plus, well, he did build uh, that like secret project that I won't spoil for anime fans. Um, he's like one of the most underutilized characters in the story, so I can't really place him higher than B tier. Magma is like our middle of the tier list. He's good for the purposes of the whole like Ishigami Village saga, but he's a very basic tropey character. Um, and eventually he becomes a good guy, so it's like B tier. Mozu is just barely above Magma because he's more threatening. Is like a legit bad guy along with Abara, but I can't put him in A tier because, again, we don't really see a lot of his potential, and his motivation is that he just likes girls. Just glad Dr. Stone exists. To me, the concept is like Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a sense of wonder and exploration. Yeah, Dr. Stone is crazy good, and it's such even in the context of science fiction, it's such a refreshing story. Um, Even if like I change my opinion on it being like my number one or my number two favorite manga or whatever, it's always going to be in like my top 10. Like, it's just so good. Um, and it's like, it's just so emotional and like just inspiring. Then we have Hyoga. Hyoga is a really, really great villain for like 2 seconds before he gets defeated, and his motivation isn't really anything crazy. So he's like bottom of A tier. Then we have Abara, who more threatening than everyone before. He's a great villain, but I'm not that crazy about him as a character, so he gets like high A tier. Then we got Y-Man, who I would love to put in S tier. I would maybe even consider putting him below Tsukasa, but for reasons I can't totally get into, he's not technically a villain, and also how he's handled in the end is not the best. Dr. Stone is like Jujutsu Kaisen, basically potential the manga. I think the final arc is underrated, but I do agree that there's a lot of wasted potential in this series. That being said, it's still my favorite manga. Excuse me. Then we have Tsukasa. Tsukasa, for obvious reasons, is S tier, but he's not as much of a villain as Stanley and Zeno. Stanley, obviously a badass American soldier, almost like a cowboy. And then, of course, we have Mr. Dr. Zeno Houston Wingfield, the Dark Prince of Science, the dastardly, deliciously evil American army mastermind himself. What more can I say? He's elegant. He's almost like a science dandy, and I mean that in the literal sense of a dandy who dresses up in fancy clothes and almost has like a gentlemanly energy to him. Like who's the guy who used to be in One Direction? Oh, Harry Styles. He's like the Harry Styles. He's like an evil Harry Styles, and you can quote me on that. You can clip me. But yeah, that's the tier list. We could probably throw in more characters if we really forced it, but this is pretty much everyone. I feel like, yeah, I could probably put in like Arashi, and maybe like a few other characters, but this is pretty much it. I'm pretty happy with this tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, how you would rank everyone. I wonder if the Houston name is, referencing NASA. Yeah, I think that's what his middle name is a reference to. I think that's a reference to the NASA headquarters. The whole like, Houston, we have a problem. But yeah, this is my tier list. Let me know how you guys agree or disagree in the comments. Who do you think is the best villain in Dr. Stone? Let me know how you've been enjoying Season 2. First of all, I said it on Twitter, but the Season 4 opening quickly grew on me. I thought it was like A tier last week. But this week, I've like just today while I was cooking lunch, I was playing it on repeat on Spotify. So it went from A tier to like top 3 Dr. Stone openings, possibly top 1 at the moment. But that may be recency bias speaking. But yeah, loving Season 2. I liked the additional content we got in today's episode. Today's episode was really, really nice because it was, potentially the most boring episode of Season 4, and they made it pretty exciting. I think they time the timing for everything and the pacing for everything is really good so far, considering what they're working with. So I'm very hopeful for how Season 4 is going to look. My only concern is what the animation is going to look like, because there aren't a ton of fights in Core 1, but there's plenty of moments for there to be like really nice animation. And they did have moments like that in Season 3. So I'm hoping they, really try to like nicely animate those few scenes. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thanks everybody for coming to today's stream. Monday will be a Dawn to Dawn stream. I don't know what the topic will be yet, but there will be a Dawn to Dawn stream on Monday. We will stream Dr. Stone again next week. I don't know what it will be, but I am going to try for another tier list. Again, Shonen Jump streams won't be back until February, so this Sunday we'll be on break. Look out for videos this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm experiencing a bit of a delay. Sorry about that for people who are waiting. But videos will be back starting this weekend. Potentially tomorrow, but we'll see. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for a great discussion. Ooh, yeah, maybe we'll do waifus. I don't know. It gets weird with everyone being teenagers and the ages in Dr. Stone, so I'm not so sure, but maybe we'll do waifus. Luke, you just made it in the very end. Hi, Ouji. Sorry I missed this week's video. That's okay. So real quick, here's the tier list. I'll post it on Twitter as well. Maybe I'll do a community post. But yeah, we're going to do ranking the best males and females. So maybe what we'll do is next week we'll do waifus, and then the following week we'll do husbandos. Suika S tier? If we're doing waifus, then one, that feels super awkward for me, and two, it's technically a spoiler, so I can't really do that. Yeah, so maybe we'll do waifus next week if I can come up with a tier list that I'm comfortable with. But yeah, Dawn to Dawn on Monday, Dr. Stone on no, Suika, not waifu. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a little creepy for my liking. Oh, Luke, before I forget, I know you saw on Twitter, but Casanova Posse is top 3 Dr. Stone openings for me. It only took a week, but I had it playing on repeat on Spotify while I was cooking today. Anyway, Dawn to Dawn Monday, Dr. Stone next Thursday. 1 or 2 videos this weekend. Was supposed to do a video earlier this week, but it got delayed. That's it for me. I'll answer this quick comment and then we'll wrap things up. That's a tough one because of the age growth. Also news on the Crash, Axel, and Trenton. Jump video will come by the end of the month. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. I'm definitely going to have to try and... I suggested females tier list because that way it can include everyone. Yeah, maybe we'll do... Maybe instead of a waifus tier list, we'll do a Ishigami Village tier list. I'm not sure. We'll see. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you on Monday. Peace.